Ahoy there, fellow adventurers, and welcome aboard for a deep dive into the Flying Dutchman.
Ooh, this one's a classic.
It really is. And today we're going to be charting a course through some fascinating academic excerpts to see how this legend has evolved in literature.
I think people will be surprised by how many different forms this myth takes on.
Oh, absolutely. We're in for some serious twists and turns. You might even find out that the Flying Dutchman isn't always a ship.
Now that's a teaser.
Get ready to uncover why this nautical legend has captured imaginations for centuries.
And what those different interpretations might reveal about us.
So let's set sail and explore the origins of this myth.
You know, what's really interesting is that the Flying Dutchman isn't just your typical ghost story. It's more like this window into how people have grappled with fear and uncertainty throughout history.
Okay, I like that. So we've got those classic elements, right? A cursed ship, a captain doomed to sail forever, and often a chance for redemption through true love.
Ah, yes. But even in those early versions, there's so many variations.
Yeah, it's not just one straightforward story.
Right from the start, you see these different versions popping up. Is the curse coming from the devil or an angel?
Oh, that's an interesting question. What was the captain's crime? I mean, was it greed, recklessness, or even mutiny?
Exactly. And could the crew ever escape their fate?
There's a lot to unpack there. I mean, it's like each retelling adds another layer to the mystery, doesn't it?
For sure. It's like a puzzle with constantly changing pieces.
And then there are those vivid details. A ship sailing against the wind, the captain frantically searching for a woman to break the curse.
Oh, and don't forget the fear of receiving a letter from the ghost ship.
Okay, yeah, that one gives me chills.
Right. Those details, they really get under your skin.
They really do. And I think those variations are a clue to just how adaptable this myth is. It's almost like every generation shaped the legend to fit their own fears and beliefs.
Yeah, you could say it's like a game of storytelling telephone across the centuries.
That's a good analogy, but with real consequences. It makes you wonder about those real-world factors that contributed to the legend's popularity. I mean, why did it resonate so strongly with sailors, especially?
Well, imagine yourself as a sailor back then.
Okay.
You're facing these constant dangers on this vast and unpredictable ocean.
And let's be real, it was a lot more unpredictable back then.
Absolutely. There was no GPS, no weather forecasting, and you're at the mercy of the elements.
Right. You're basically surrounded by the unknown.
Exactly. So it makes sense that sailors would create explanations.
Supernatural ones at that.
To make sense of these strange and sometimes terrifying experiences.
It's like the ocean itself was this giant mystery, and the Flying Dutchman was a way to give that mystery a name, a face.
A story to make sense of the chaos.
And then, of course, we have all those reported sightings.
Oh, there's so many of those.
Right, from all over the world. But the one that always sends chills down my spine is the account from the future King George V.
He actually saw the Flying Dutchman.
Apparently. Imagine being on a royal expedition in 1880, witnessing this ghostly ship, and then, shortly after, a crew member dies.
That's creepy.
It is. And it's incidents like that that give the legend this feeling of reality, almost like a bad omen.
Of course, now we have scientific explanations for some of those sightings, like superior mirages, where atmospheric conditions make objects appear in really strange ways.
Right, but here's the thing that keeps the mystery alive for me. The last reported sighting was in 1959.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So while science can explain some things, there's still room for the unexplained.
That little bit of doubt that keeps the legend alive.
Exactly. Okay, so we've got this foundation of mystery and real-world anxieties.
It's a potent combination.
No wonder writers have been drawn to the Flying Dutchman for centuries, and they've done so much more than just retell the same ghost ship story.
You're absolutely right. Writers have used the Flying Dutchman to explore a whole range of themes.
Yeah.
Like, take Coleridge's Rime of the Ancient Mariner.
Ooh, a classic.
It might not be directly about the Flying Dutchman, but it shares that idea of a cursed ship and a crew suffering because of the captain's actions.
And we can't forget that albatross, right?
Oh, such a powerful symbol.
The image of the bird hung around the mariner's neck.
It makes you think about the weight of our choices, the consequences of our actions, how they can ripple outwards in ways we don't even anticipate.
And then there's Washington Irving's The Storm Ship.
He had a very different take.
Oh, yeah. He sets it on the Hudson River, tying the legend to the anxieties of those early Dutch settlers in America.
That's clever.
And he throws in some humor, too.
Really?
Yeah, the way the townspeople react, the rumors they spread, it shows that the legend can be adapted to fit different tones and moods.
Huh. The Flying Dutchman with a comedic twist.
Who knew? And then we have John Boyle O'Reilly's poem, just call it the Flying Dutchman. This one dives into the crew's emotional state, their utter hopelessness.
Ooh, that sounds bleak.
It is. There's even this chilling line that sums it up. They who see the Flying Dutchman never, never reach the shore.
Wow, it really captures that fear of being adrift forever.
That eternal wandering, right.
Trapped in a cycle of regret and despair.
Then, of course, we have William Clark Russell's The Death Ship.
A classic of Victorian Gothic horror.
This one really goes all in on the atmosphere, making the experience on that ship truly terrifying.
And his portrayal of Captain Vanderdecken is unforgettable.
Haunting figure.
You can practically see his tormented soul. Russell really brings that psychological horror of the curse to life.
And to make it even more gripping, he weaves in a survival story element.
Ooh, interesting.
It's like the Flying Dutchman meets Castaway, but with a lot more ghosts.
Huh. I like that.
Uh.
And speaking of twists, we can't leave out Ward Moore's short story, also called Flying Dutchman.
What's the twist in this one?
He puts it in a whole new setting.
Okay.
A post-apocalyptic world.
So, no more sailing ships?
Nope. In this version, the Flying Dutchman is a plane, reflecting those modern anxieties about technology and its potential for destruction.
Wow. That's really reimagining the legend.
It just goes to show that even a centuries-old myth can speak to our modern fears.
It's pretty amazing how this one story can shapeshift and adapt.
Reflecting our anxieties, fascinations, and even our hopes.
And the reimaginings don't stop there, do they?
Oh no, there's so many more adaptations to explore. The Flying Dutchman has taken on a life of its own, appearing in all sorts of unexpected places.
This is getting even more intriguing. Let's dive into those adaptations next time.
Sounds good to me. Welcome back to our deep dive into the legend of the Flying Dutchman.
You know, it's amazing how this one legend has been reinterpreted in so many different ways, from Gothic horror to post-apocalyptic sci-fi.
It really shows how adaptable the myth is.
It does.
Yeah.
But what fascinates me is how the Flying Dutchman continues to evolve even today.
It's not just stuck in those old stories, right?
It's not just a relic of the past. It's still finding ways to resonate with us in the modern world.
Exactly. It's like the myth has a life of its own, popping up in unexpected places, like video games and even heavy metal music.
Oh, you're right. Those themes of isolation, eternal struggle, the allure of the forbidden, they all have that heavy metal vibe.
It's like the legend is tapping into that same sense of rebellion, that pushing against boundaries.
I see what you mean. And in video games, the Flying Dutchman is often this challenging boss you have to defeat, or a hidden Easter egg for players to discover.
Yeah, it's not just passive storytelling anymore.
Right, we're actively engaging with the myth.
Battling it, uncovering its secrets.
It adds a whole new layer of interaction, don't you think?
Absolutely. That interactive element is key to understanding why the Flying Dutchman is still so relevant today.
It's not just a story we hear, it's something we can actually grapple with, something that sparks our imaginations and makes us question what we believe.
It's a cultural mirror, reflecting our fears and fascinations back at us.
It makes you wonder why this legend still holds so much power over our imaginations, even in a world increasingly dominated by technology and logic.
That's a good question.
What are your thoughts on that?
You know, I think it's because the Flying Dutchman speaks to something deep within us, something primal.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
It taps into our fear of the unknown, our fascination with things beyond our understanding, and our longing for second chances.
It's almost like, in a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain, the Flying Dutchman gives us a framework for exploring those big questions about life, death, and what might lie beyond.
Exactly. I think you've hit on something really important. It's like that little kid inside us who never stopped wondering about ghosts and monsters. But now those wonders are wrapped up in more complex stories and themes.
And the Flying Dutchman isn't just about scaring us, right?
Oh, definitely not.
It also makes us think. It's a cautionary tale.
Reminding us of the consequences of our actions.
The dangers of arrogance and the importance of making amends for our mistakes.
Powerful stuff.
It is. It's like a reminder that even with all our technology and all our progress, we're still susceptible to the same flaws that have always plagued humanity.
Greed, recklessness, the desire for power.
Exactly, and those are themes that the Flying Dutchman embodies perfectly.
And it goes beyond just individual actions, too.
Oh, how so?
You can see the Flying Dutchman as reflecting our anxieties about the future.
Okay, that's interesting.
Fears about the world we're creating, whether it's the environment, technology, or the fate of humanity as a whole.
So it's not just a ghost ship sailing the seas, it's this mirror reflecting our hopes and fears about the world around us.
Powerful imagery.
It really is. It makes you wonder what future generations will see when they look at the Flying Dutchman.
A thought-provoking question.
It is. But one thing seems certain to me. The Flying Dutchman's ability to adapt and evolve is what ensures its continued relevance.
It's a story that'll likely continue to haunt and inspire us for generations to come.
That's a pretty powerful statement.
It is.
So, as we sail toward the conclusion of our deep dive, what are some of the key things you hope our listener takes away from this exploration of the Flying Dutchman?
Well, first and foremost, I hope this deep dive has challenged how our listeners think about the Flying Dutchman.
Not just a spooky ghost ship story.
Exactly. I hope they see it as this complex, multifaceted legend that's resonated with people for centuries.
It's like peeling back the layers of an onion, revealing all these hidden depths and meanings.
You start with the simple ghost story, but then you find layers of psychology, history, and even social commentary.
It's amazing. You've put it perfectly.
Thanks. And I also hope the listener comes away with a deeper appreciation for the power of storytelling itself. The Flying Dutchman shows how a simple myth can evolve and adapt, taking on new meanings and staying relevant across cultures and time.
It's like a seed that's planted in our imaginations, and it grows in different ways depending on the soil it lands in.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Thanks. It's a reminder that stories aren't static things. They're living, breathing entities that grow and change along with us.
And finally, I think The Flying Dutchman is a powerful reminder of our own mortality and the choices we make in life. It's a cautionary tale, but also one that offers a glimmer of hope.
That possibility of redemption, the chance to break free from the mistakes of the past.
Those are powerful themes that I think speak to all of us.
It's a story that captures the human condition in all its complexity.
Our flaws, aspirations, and our eternal search for meaning in a world that often feels vast and unknowable.
But before we wrap up, there's one aspect of the Flying Dutchman we haven't fully explored yet, the idea of the other.
Ooh, yes, let's dive into that.
It's like this legend makes us think about those things that are outside our normal experience, things that we don't fully understand.
Yeah, it's like the ghostly crew, the cursed ship itself, all those supernatural forces at play.
It embodies this sense of the unknown, right? Something that's beyond the boundaries of our everyday world.
It really does. It's like a glimpse into another realm.
And it makes you wonder how we react to that other.
Yeah, how do we respond to something we don't understand?
It reveals a lot about ourselves, doesn't it? I mean, think about those early sailor accounts. They were terrified of encountering the Flying Dutchman. They saw it as a sign of doom.
Oh, absolutely. It was a harbinger of bad luck.
But then, as the legend evolved,
our relationship with that other started to change as well.
I see what you mean. In some versions, the captain isn't just this fearsome figure.
He's actually seeking redemption.
Right. He wants a connection with humanity.
Through love, no less.
It's like we're seeing a shift from pure fear to a desire for understanding, maybe even empathy.
Yeah, recognizing the human element, even in something that was initially seen as purely monstrous.
It adds a whole other layer to the story, doesn't it?
It does. Even in those darker adaptations where the curse is inescapable, there's still this sense of awe.
Like being confronted with something much larger than ourselves.
Exactly. The Flying Dutchman forces us to acknowledge that there are these forces at play in the universe, mysteries that we may never fully comprehend.
And, in a world that's increasingly explained by science and technology, I think that's what I find so fascinating about this legend.
That there's still room for mystery.
Yeah, for the inexplicable. It's like a little crack in the wall of our understanding.
And we can't resist peeking through.
We can't. I think you've hit on something really important there. It's that need to grapple with the unknown. That's what keeps the Flying Dutchman alive.
We might crave a world that's neatly explained, but deep down, there's a part of us that longs for the mystery, for the magic.
Maybe even the possibility that there are things out there beyond our grasp.
It's a powerful thought.
It is. So, as we prepare to disembark from this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Okay.
What does the Flying Dutchman tell us about ourselves? About our need for these stories that explore the boundaries between the real and the supernatural. What do you think it says about us?
I think it suggests that deep down, maybe we long for a world that's a bit more magical, a bit more mysterious.
I like that.
A world where anything is possible.
Maybe we need these stories to remind us that there's still so much out there to be discovered, both within ourselves and in the vast world around us.
The possibilities are endless.
They really are. And on that note, to our listener, we encourage you to set sail on your own voyage of discovery. Explore some of the adaptations we've discussed. Delve deeper into the legend's history.
You might even come up with your own interpretation of the Flying Dutchman.
That's the beauty of these enduring myths. They keep evolving.
Exactly.
So until next time, fellow adventurers, may your journey be filled with intrigue, wonder, and a healthy dose of the unexpected. Happy sailing.